I'm here today at the Cornerstone Gallery in Langworthy Road, Salford. I'm joined by Lawrence Cassidy, a gentleman who is one of the curators of Salford's history, photographer, historian. He's been collecting street signs from Salford over the many years, and they have been exhibited in galleries, museums, libraries over Salford and Manchester. And they're a fabulous archive of the Salford streets. And Lawrence is going to tell me more about them and the reason why we're here today chatting. Take it away, Lawrence. Why are we here?
Well, originally the idea for collecting all the signs came from District 6 Museum in Cape Town, which I went to study in 2006. They've got a big tower of their street signs that's from the District 6 area, which was demolished under the apartheid system. So they had a community museum was formed, and then they kept the demolition person kept the street signs in his cellar for several decades until the ANC was
Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela was elected. Then they gave all the signs back to the community and built a museum and a church which has several 100,000 visitors a year, and it's one of the most popular museums in the world. So I decided we'd try and do a comparable project in Salford in terms of collecting memorabilia from the demolished urban communities. So I've collected about 70 street signs, mainly from Lower Broughton, Higher Broughton, Odsal, and some from Greengate, some from Langworthy. So all the urban areas that have undergone demolition in the last 50 or 60 years, that's mostly where we collect from. We also collect family photographs and 2x8 footage and maps. So yeah, the idea behind today really is that we're in Langworthy Cornerstones now, and a company called Pixels has come to photograph the signs and preserve them digitally, for the future. So that if something happens to them, because they're currently stored in my house, something happens to them or they get stolen or whatever, there's a permanent record of the streets where we all lived. And I know you're from Hankey Park, aren't you?
Salford 6.
So, that's a classic example. Hankey Park, so-called Hankey Park, has gone. No record of it whatsoever. And, in terms of street signs or actual artefacts, so, what we're trying to do is preserve some of those for the future so that people can see the streets they lived on. And a lot of the time, the way we've got the signs that have been brought to us by members of the public is that the BBC or you or the Evening News has advertised the projects, and people have brought them in that have kept them for years on end because they lived in the street themselves, or it reminds them of their father, or the father got them or rescued them. And it means a lot to people, those streets' names, as you know. The famous ones like Ella Street, Cross Lane, Chapel Street, Lizardale Street. The main thoroughfares in this city, everyone remembers them, and all the high streets have been lost now, haven't they? And a lot of the terrace streets.
What struck a chord with me when I was looking at the street signs before in the room where being photographed, the district codes 3s, 6, 7, 5, that are Broughton, Odsal, Pendleton, but there's no 4, is there?
That's a good point, Tony. And I've never thought about that, as I was just saying. No one's ever asked me that. But yeah, there's no 4. I think 3 is Greengate, 6 is Langworthy, 7 is Higher and Lower Broughton. I think 5 is also Odsal and part of Greengate. But I think Islington is number 3. And
any reason why there's no number 4 or number 1?
Yeah, I don't know the reason behind that. There's no number 2 either. But I think in Manchester or London, there's probably, I don't know sure there's L whatever, Central City wise, there might be L1 and L2, I don't know. But I think the famous ones internationally, you've got Toxworth, which is Liverpool 8, everyone knows that. And then here you've got, people don't know, that Broughton, some people may not know that. I think the postcodes came in after the Second World War. So some of the signs, the odd one will be brought in before the Second World War. I think someone brought one of the Odsal signs in which preceded that. So yeah, it's...
I can remember the street signs when I was a kid. They were made of wood with individual letters, cast iron I assume, but there was no postcode on them because I got the one from Bell Street when we left, moved to Tootle Road, but it got lost over the years. I just wish I'd have kept it. I wish I'd have known you and give it you for safekeeping, but Not to me. And the other dangers with if they donate it to a museum, there's a good chance they'll never be seen again, is there? That's a thing I've found a bit of a worry.
Well, it's a good point that. I mean, with the District 6 in Cape Town, it gets hundreds of thousands of tourists every year and they see it, you know, it's school visits, you know, adults, all the rest of it. But yeah, they have them on show, and the idea here, is not to put them in the vaults of a museum or the salt mine, but actually have them on display so that the schools can learn from them, or, you know, can do history projects, which we've done before, and taken them into primary schools where they do mapping projects with them. And we've done all sorts of art projects with them in Broughton, where we got the you know, children to draw out their own sign and ask questions about what happened in street life of the past. So it's like a history project, it's an art project, and it is.
In one, yeah.
Yeah, it's not just consigned to the past, it's relevant to people's identity. That's the issue, really. It's a cultural identity project.
So what's going to happen with the signs now? Are you still going to be not lumbered with them? Will you have to take them back home and store them safely in your house?
Yes.
Will you be sorry to do that?
Yes. Well, I will be, because they should be exhibited.
Permanent display.
Like, for example, the Museum of Liverpool, they've got one or two from the Toxteth area and other areas of Liverpool, I think.
Right.
And, you know, I think there'd be a lot of interest in it.
Of course there would. Ask Mr Dennett.
Yes,
we should have a permanent exhibition of Salford street history.
Yeah.
A gallery somewhere. The Lowry, Salford, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, well, we're constantly reminding people, or you know, asking these questions, really, because you know, it'd be a really big selling point of the culture of the city, really. I mean, there's over 2,500 terrace streets that have gone in Salford, and you know, that's what I know. You know, the over 50s predominantly remember that life, but I think, you know, even Lower Broughton went a lot in the 80s. Yeah. So, and I mean, I'm, you know, nearly 60 now. I was 16 when a lot of our streets were demolished, and there's people that are younger than me can remember it. So it's not just about a certain age group. It's all them areas have been demolished in the last 10 years. So I think it's more about it. It could be a really good showcase for Salford, really. All this.
Is there any future plans to exhibit them, or is the show over?
Well, we constantly come up with ideas to move them around, or, you know, put them in site-specific, you might call site locations, like here we're today in Cornerstones. And Cornerstones have been great in hosting history exhibitions, as you know. So, you know, anywhere, any community centre or church or school or building that, you know, can host them temporarily while we bring certain ones on show for people, you know, that. But I think digitising them, you know, we can expand that with that process.
Well, finally, Lawrence, I think you've done a fantastic job over the years recording and preserving Salford's history, and I doff my cap to you. And good luck with this latest project, and I hope the street signs do find a good and safe home where they can be viewed by the public of Salford.
Thank you. And we have also referred to some of your literature on Cross Lane, Tony, so thanks for doing all that in the past.
Yeah,
some of that's on show down here at the Cornerstone as well, with the pubs of Cross Lane and Trafford Road, which you've already covered, haven't you?
Indeed. So calling Cornerstone, you won't be able to see the street signs, I've got to stress. There's Tony Easham's Art of Salford, isn't there? That's on at the moment. But downstairs where the canteen is, there's exhibitions of Salford pubs and the street areas. Well worth seeing. So come in and you'll have a good time and get a brew. Cheers.
So I'm Alex Mitchell. I'm a commercial photographer who's been commissioned by Past Pixels to document Salford street signs, to act as an archive and to produce memorabilia. So I'm using medium format, which is, well, archival quality capture. So hopefully the signs, if they want to be used by museums and galleries in years to come, the quality's there and they can do whatever they want with them, really.